Thank you. Yeah, there was a couple good screams in there. That was good to hear. Yeah, that's Stillborn. It's a nice little feel-good movie.
Nice little family film.
Yeah.
That baby was adorable.
Yeah, that's actually my niece. Yeah, it's a girl. Well, we wrote the script for a boy, and my brother was, his wife was pregnant, and the time was kind of matching up, so we actually kind of scheduled it around her birth. So, I mean, legally you're not allowed to do what we did, because you're supposed to wait till they're 15 days old, but we waited 7. So, there's a couple scenes in that movie where, you know, she's very, very fresh. So, you know, it's gonna be kind of interesting in a month, or you know, when she grows up, she'll have this super weird video of her first year. So that'll be fun for her.
She can show it to her friends.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to that when she's old enough to actually see the film and say, by the way, that's you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'll be weird because then I mean, I just know her as a baby. She's only like 1 now, so. Yeah, that'll be definitely kind of interesting. And there, you know, my brother was on set a lot, and his wife was on set, or my parents, just sort of, you know, helping wrangle the baby and everything. But she was great. I mean, like, there's the scene where she yells at her when she's crying too much when she's on Skype, and to get a baby cry, I mean, she's just a great baby. So she didn't cry that much. So, you know, we try like flicking water in her face, or just like pop a balloon, or just like ah. And it never worked, so I did find out that if you take a cold bottle of, like a cold soda, put it right against the cheek and just hold it there, it takes a little bit, but they start crying. It's okay, it's their second kid, It's fun.
I know it's only a bit part, but when you put Michael Ironside in anything, I'm a huge Michael Ironside fan. Scanners, Starship Troopers, Highlander 2.
Yeah, he was late edition. We had someone else cast, but the guy got booked on a Marvel show, and because it was only a day thing, he was just like, yeah, I don't care about your show. Like, I'm gonna go make some good money. So Colin, the producer, he had worked with Ironside on Extraterrestrial, and he had his agent's contact, so we just hit him up. He's like, hey, can we get him out for a day? And just, it was kind of a lucky thing that happened. But it was, I mean, you know, the entire crew was on their best behavior that day, because he's just like a big presence. You know, he walks in and he's just, oh, what are we doing?
That voice.
Just talking this deep voice. It was funny, we shot the first part at the house, and then we shot in the hospital for the second part of the day. And when we were doing when we were moving, I had my parents' car, so I was like, hey, does anyone need a ride? And just upstairs you could hear, Ironside does. So I was like, sweet. So I got to drive Ironside for like 30 minutes to the hospital and just chat about Splinter Cell and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. This is your first feature film. What was the hardest thing? Like the hardest I can't get the words out. What was the hardest thing you had to deal with during the production of the film?
I mean, we had such a great crew and producer team putting things together that, like, really the hardest part was like the emotional component, just because it was, I mean, that's my parents' house, but we weren't supposed to be there. Like a week before, we had another house. It was supposed to be a small suburban home, like, you know, the little boxes all next to each other nicely. But a week before production, the family called and they're like, hey, the house just sold and the people want possession during your shoots. We're just like, shit, we have a week. We don't have any time to find another house. That's going to let us take over for an entire month. So, you know, I begged my parents, and they just, they moved out, you know. They just said, okay, no, it's fine. I supported it. They kind of just went to my grandparents' house, my brother, whoever would take them, you know. It was kind of a last-minute thing, so that was amazing. But, you know, that kind of threw a wrinkle into everything, because me and my kids and everybody were supposed to stay in the house. But, you know, when you're shooting 6 to 6 or 6 to 6 in the morning, like, you can't really schedule that kind of stuff. Because I lived in Las Vegas, but we shot in Canada, where I'm originally from. So, you know, there was just like that. And when my brother and sister-in-law are on set with the baby, they're just like, hey, when are we going to be done? It's just like, I'm sorry, you know, we're doing like 12 scenes a day. We're trying to shoot out all your stuff in a row. And it's just, there's just like, you know, or like my mom comes in the first week. She's like, Brandon. I'm like, what? Come over here. There's a hole in the wall. And I was like, I know. I'm sorry. We're going to fix it. It's going to be fun. So it's just like, you know, it's just that part of it, because I mean the production side of it was, you know, it was super smooth. It was just, going to bed every night wondering if someone in your family hates you is a tough one.
Let's give the audience a chance to ask a few questions.
Cool.
Yes.
The story of the witch, did you come up with it yourself, or was it based on something?
It's actually based on a real Mesopotamian god called the Lamashtu. So we kind of, when we were writing it, we were looking up like just kind of demonology that had to do with babies, and we found this one that kind of takes newborns and eats them, and and stuff like that. And we took the mythology and we kind of spin it off to work for our script a little bit better. Like the look of it changed because it's kind of this weird, dumb, naked woman with like a wolf head, and so that wasn't cool. So this design was kind of inspired by the Red Lady in Game of Thrones, which takes off that thing. That plus when I met the actress, because we were in Calgary where there's there's not a ton of actors of that type that are willing to do nude stuff. So when we met her, she's just like, oh, and take a look at my hair. It's just like, and we're just like, oh, okay, the demon has long hair now. So, that was cool. But yeah, I mean, it's all of the stuff that it does. It's all from these like Wikipedia things for demons and stuff like that we're reading.
I would love to see a naked wolf-headed lady. Who else has a question? Yes, you in the back, raising your hand.
Is there an official theater release?
I guess I can kind of announce it. Yesterday, we just secured our distribution with Vertical Entertainment. But, yeah. But they'll do a limited run, kind of like like indie films do. So we'll get. They're supposed to give us like 10 markets or something like that. I don't know what that means. And then they'll do like the VOD thing. So there's no release date yet. I know Mexico is opening it wider than we are, so that'll be kind of interesting. I'm curious to see what they're gonna call it, but and they're dubbing it and all that stuff right now, so that'll be cool. But so I don't know what Stillborn translates into. I'm sure it's cool.
Speaking of the title Stillborn, was that the initial title? Were you ever contemplating going with something else? Did you think people might have a problem with that as a title for the film?
I didn't think anyone would have a problem with it until we started getting rejected from film festivals. Like South by Southwest, they said no. And to be fair, we sent them like a super rough cut. The sound was garbage. There's no effects, anything like that. But they said no, and then Tribeca said no. And I felt like we were in a good place that then. And then LA Film Festival said no, and we're just like, shit. This is like, do we need to change the title?
That's their loss. That is their loss.
That's cool. I get it. Thousands of films get submitted to these things, but and then it's kind of like when Overlook, which they did a festival, and they took us and did our world premiere, and we won Scariest Film there, and from there everything kind of snowballed into more and more people hearing about it and stuff like that, and it's cool. We're playing Fright Fest in the UK in a couple weeks. That'll be a fun one. But to answer your actual question, no. Other than just that one moment, we didn't think of any other title. It just sort of was a throw-out title, and the slash thing I think sold Colin on. He's like, yeah, that's awesome. It's just like just an artistic flourish, I guess.
We're gonna take one more question before Brandon asks you guys a question to win an awesome prize. So go ahead. Yes, lady, young lady.
Yes, lady.
Yes.
This one's a lot more personal to me, just being a father and, being my first film to direct and stuff like that. Sands was, it was a great experience just because it was the first time I got to do it, and I got to kind of prove myself to Colin and Stu, who, I'd been friends with, but never really, they were always kind of doing, movies and stuff like that, and I was just doing whatever stupid stuff I was doing. So it kind of gave me a chance to prove myself that I could actually do something in this, and then, it springboarded this because Colin and I wrote it together while he was in post on that. This one just is more personal to me. So that one I was more putting pieces together, and this one, I'm kind of in the shit, just dealing with it. Whatever. It's crazy. Making movies is a very strange experience, but when you get to come out to a place like this, thank you guys. It's it makes it all worth it.
So to make sure you guys were all paying attention, which by the screams you were, Brandon is going to ask you guys a question about the film. Make sure to raise your hand, and if you guys get it right, you're going to get this awesome gift bag that has the 4K restoration of Donnie Darko, a bunch of collector's edition action figures, pretty awesome gift bag.
I didn't really put any thought into this, so What was the second baby's name? Okay, wait, is that too easy? That might be too easy. Okay. Okay, yeah. Let me just chill. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna. Let's switch topics. How many years does it take for Pennywise the clown to come back in between its visits to Derry?
This guy right here. 27.
27. And actually, let me just say a little anecdote, because when 27 years ago, when it came out on TV, I was in kindergarten, and for some reason my dad let me watch it, and that movie scarred me for about 8 years, and I pissed my pants in kindergarten and stuff. But the new one's coming out in a month, and my oldest son is in kindergarten now, so I'm like, do I do the thing my dad did? It's this weird 27-year gap that I'm considering, but we will. I probably won't. This one looks terrifying.
Speaking of it, if you guys are here tomorrow, we're gonna have a little surprise for some of the audiences.
Speaking of Mark shutting the fuck up.
Ooh.